The Indie Writers Club podcast is sponsored by Pro Writing Aid. Pro Writing Aid has been my go-to tool for revising and refining my writing since my first book. Built by writers for writers, it's more than just a grammar and spell checker. Pro Writing Aid helps you enhance your story's pacing, plot, characters, settings, and more. It can even provide on-demand developmental feedback on your entire manuscript with its new manuscript analysis and virtual beta reader tools. Get ahead of the competition by heading to prowritingaid.com, sign up for free or use the code IWC15 for a 15% discount off annual subscriptions.
It's the Indie Writers Club with Cara Clare and James Blatch. A place to relax, chat, learn and vent about life as an independent author. Get episode alerts and links at indiewritersclub.com. Now, here's Cara and James.
Hello, welcome to the Indie Writers Club. I am Cara Clare.
I'm James Blatch. Hello.
Hello, James Blatch. Long time no see.
Well, 12 hours.
Just been but a few short hours.
15 hours, yes. We made a public appearance, a rare public appearance because we're hermits.
We did. We
together.
did.
And someone did say to me, do you come as a double act? Do you speak together all the time? And I said, can do, if you want. Yeah. There's another
if I
group.
have to.
Yeah. Well, we went to a writers' club in Cambridge, which was very interesting, very lovely people, and had a chat about all things. There was quite a mixture in the room, some very indie and some very trad, and a lot of people in between sort of interested in how the two sides work. So we spoke, because it's our area, about indie, didn't we? We talked about indie and the approach and how we do it.
Yeah, and we tried not to blow everyone's minds, because I think once you've been doing it for a while, you kind of forget that you start using terms like even KDP or KU, like all these little
ACX, Audible,
yeah, and you kind of forget, and then you see people looking at you like, hang on, wait, what is that? But no, it was really fun. It was really good, and we got a little outing to the pub afterwards. So yeah.
Well, it did prompt today's discussion. So we're going to talk about that first year, the year running up when you're writing your book and you're running up to publication. So your first book and into your first year when you've published for the first time. So what you should be doing, kind of the building blocks of your career. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm just going to mention that SPS Live 2026. We have made plans for that, so we finally pressed the button on a venue. So we've been thrown out, not unceremoniously, just it's unavailable. The South Bank Centre, the place we've been at since 2020, all 5 of our conferences, is not available next year because they have a series of art events to mark their anniversaries. We were looking around, we've looked at a lot of places, we've done a lot of figures. Everywhere else is much more expensive, but we want to keep it in London, we want to keep it in June, so that did limit us quite a lot. And then the last venue that we properly looked at, we walked in and I think both Catherine and I thought, this feels like our home. And it's County Hall, which is the iconic building. It used to be the Greater London Council when I was a kid. And before that, I think with London County Council, built about 100 years ago. Huge building. I mean, there's so much inside it now. It's absolutely enormous. So they've got the Marriott Hotel one side. They've got a very expensive steak restaurant there. They've got the Premier Inn Hotel at one side. They've got the London Aquarium at the front, but in the middle, they've developed ETC Limited have developed a venue space, and it's on over a couple of floors. So that's one of the big points is there's a new venue. I should say straight away, the dates are the 11th and 12th of June, 2026. So slightly
earlier than normal.
A little bit earlier than normal, Thursday and Friday. So get ready for the weekend. And it only takes 400 people. So that is quite a difference from our previous years where we've had potentially the ability to go to about 800 and something.
So do you think you're going to sell out quicker than, what is it, Oasis? Somebody popular?
Yeah, I don't know.
Taylor Swift?
We've done, I mean, I'll be honest about the figures here because, in the sort of inspired by the indie tradition, we do share our figures on this. So it is we've priced the 2 days at 349 plus VAT. Unfortunately, VAT has to be paid. 349, and we're going to sell 2-day tickets only to start off with and see how they go. They may all go. If after a few weeks we've got some left, we'll do some 1-day tickets for the first day. But we're going to encourage people to come for 2 days because we're going to try and program this. So wherever you are in your career, there'll be something for you, both in the workshop day and the main plenary day. But even if we sold out instantly, that will not cover the cost of hosting the conference. I mean, that's how expensive it is. So if you do 400 times 349, get that figure. It's quite a big figure. That's more than that to put this conference on. So we are in the hands of our sponsors. Thank goodness for our lovely sponsors who enable the conference to happen, to make up that difference. So I'm slightly nervous at this stage, just ahead of launching tickets. But the other thing is to put the tickets up to £425 each, and that's just too much for all of this, and you can't do that. So, and we all put money into the sponsors, the various sponsors, by their services all year. So I think this is a quid pro quo. It's a very nice thing for them to be able to enable this conference to take place. So that's where we are at the moment. Now, if you want to come, I don't know, but it feels like there's going to be a bit of a scramble for tickets because of the limiting factor.
Be more confident, James. You need to be, what is it? The shopping channel. Like, come on, move now before they're all gone. Trust me, these are going to be sold out by, midday on Friday.
You want your chance. I will tell you, it's a fantastic venue and it's going to be amazing in there. And one of the other things I haven't mentioned that you get with your ticket with the new price is you get food and tea and coffee all day. So you get
really?
Snacks and food all day, including lunch. So you don't have to worry about picking up anything else. And that's all catered both days, first and second day. And then before, we could only basically afford to do coffee.
Yeah, that'll make a big difference.
Yeah, and so I think so. And so it's a bit more, don't have to worry so much about logistics and go off and hunt, a sandwich at lunchtime. You can focus on the conference and focus on networking. So you stay in the venue and it's a really soft areas to sit down and nice tables. It's going to be really nice, relaxed time. So we are going to offer the tickets, first of all, to the people who bought 2-day tickets last year, then the people who bought 1-day tickets last year, then people on the wait list for this year. And if you're not on the wait list and you don't fall into those first two groups and you want to be on the wait list, if you want to come, you need to be on that wait list because that might be the last group that get tickets. I don't know. But you need to go to learnselfpublishing.com/SPS live now to get on that wait list. And we are also going to offer a payment plan for the 349 option, for the 2-day option. So it'll be over 4 months just to make that a bit easier for people if you want to commit to it. So that's it. Yeah, finally, the email will then go out to everyone else after that if there's some tickets left.
That is very, very exciting. And you know what else is exciting? That is only 3 days after my 40th birthday. Oh, so I think it's a really good excuse to have a party in London. I will still be drunk. Now, I don't drink anymore, remember? It's all going to go to hell, isn't it?
Has Night's been attacking your shoulder, by the way?
No, you know what? It was my straighteners, my curlers.
Was that, are they burned?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah, it was my own fault. It's like a big metal, for those of you not watching on YouTube, it does look like I've been mauled by a werewolf. It's like a big metal crimping thing. And I just was not paying attention and went,
God.
I know.
Ow.
Yeah. Yes, you're showing me more sympathy for that than you did for my broken foot.
Yeah. I don't know why, but that feels to me like a worse injury, like burning yourself with your skin melts.
It's not worse, but it is sore. But no, Knight couldn't maul anything. Like
bless him.
He's been sleeping for 12 hours already today.
I would like to get as many IWC people to the conference as possible. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
If we do single day tickets, I don't know if I've worked this out yet, the price. I think I have worked it out. Maybe they're going to be $149 for day one. We probably won't do just day 2 tickets. So if we get to that stage. Anyway, so that's it. And in terms of what we're going to do, the schedule is starting to shape up. So we're going to have a mid-list panel, which is going to be, I think, something we've missed for a couple of years, but it's a panel of authors who've got to the stage, sort of where you are, Cara, actually. They've got to the stage of being able to quit their 9 to 5. So the $50,000 to $100,000 a year profit people. So who are living off the earnings of their writing. And how, for me, I've always said this, it's the biggest step you ever make. You might get to $10 million a year down the line, which would be amazing, but I don't think it's as big as becoming a full-time author and living off the money selling your books at that moment. Yeah. So I have that panel.
I love those panels. They're always so inspirational. Like they're my favorite ones. And I think no matter what level you're at in your career, hearing that range of experiences it's one of those things that just gets you so fired up.
Yeah. Yeah, because it makes it possible, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What you can do. There's also, interestingly, we're going to have a keynote from a man called Benedict Brown. And Benedict came to SPS Live the first time as an audience member, unpublished, looking for inspiration, found it. The next time he came, he was invited by Amazon KDP onto their panel because he was doing very well with his books. And he was basically that mid-list author. He's now doing even better than that. And he's going to come back to the conference the third time from audience member to panelist to keynote speaker.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, and talk about how the conference has inspired him and hopefully it can work for you. And how he's basically, what I've asked him to do is to focus on, or I think he suggested this, focus on implementing what you learn at the conference and making action plans and stuff. We're going to have Rachel McLean, who's been through a bit of a rough year. She's had a bit of a burnout year. And so she's going to talk about that. She's going to say, I burnt out, so you don't have to. It's going to be her talk. It's going to be an important one.
That's fantastic. I love Rachel.
We'll probably finish day 2 with that as a kind of inspirational takeaway. Look, you've got a lot to take on, but this is a cautionary note and also how to implement it and stay sane over a long period of time. Hopefully a couple of big names in the romance sector, but I can't announce them just yet. So we're just waiting for some confirmations there, but there will be some household names there, hopefully. I did invite Frida McFadden, but her agent says she doesn't do any public appearances.
Really? Is she indie?
She is not indie. She's Bookouture, I think.
Okay.
Or one of those, I think Bookouture. And she's a worldwide global phenomenon.
Yeah.
But she works 2 days a week as a doctor. She's actually a doctor.
Really?
I picked up her book a couple of weeks ago, just because I wanted to, she's obviously hugely successful. She's getting a lot right. What is it she's getting right? So I wanted to read the book. And what I ended up doing was in a day and a half finishing her book and just loved it. And it's just, I think it's...
They're psych thrillers, aren't they?
Psych thrillers. The Housemaid is the first one. I'm into the second one now. But the book it's not necessarily about the story. And it's not necessarily about the characters, although they are both important ingredients. It's, I think, the clarity of storytelling with her. I think she just has this simplistic, what feels like an effortless way of telling the story, and it's effortless to read it. And that's a real trick to get to. So a lot of stuff stripped away. I imagine the editing process with her, either she writes like this naturally as a genius, which is possible, or the editing process has really honed this book and stripped away anything that didn't need to be there. And it's an absolute page turner as a result of that. So yeah, I'd recommend reading it just to sort of learn a little bit about that.
Because she dominates all the charts at the moment, doesn't she? I mean, if you look at the top 100 on Amazon.com and .co.uk, there'll probably be about 10 Frida McFadden books in there.
Yeah. Yeah. She's amazing.
She said no.
She said no. Well, her agent said no, which is a shame. I would love to have
Frida, if you're listening.
Fireside chat. If you're listening, Frida, come to London. It's a lovely city. And I find that we are literally next door to St Thomas's Hospital if you do feel the need to go and practice medicine at lunchtime. Right. That was all silence while I had a little drink.
It was, yeah. That was awkward.
Okay. That's enough of me plugging my conference.
Wares.
Although I am going to plug one more of my wares as we talk about this, because, of course, the Launchpad course
it's relevant.
Is pretty much the course that is dedicated to your first year and your first couple of years, I suppose, year before and year after publication and building your author platform. So the Launchpad course will be available next month in September on Learn Self-Publishing. Anyway, that's that plug though. Right, let's talk about this. So you and I have obviously both been through this, both published authors now.
Yes.
And it's a question that sort of came up a lot. I think it's the steepest learning curve, obviously, because it comes at the front when you go from kind of zero to what do I do to actually publish the book. And it's not as simple as pressing publish on Amazon KDP. For a start, there's a lot of stuff to fill on KDP that you may not have even thought about before you come to that moment. So thinking about that stuff in advance. We're going to start.
I was just going to say, I think when people think about self-publishing, this is probably one of the points where people back out and decide to either try and find someone to self-publish for them or go the trad route, because it feels really overwhelming, because you start to look into it and you sort of go, I don't even know where to start. And that was kind of another theme of last night, was people say, but how? Like, I get what you're saying in that I can do all this myself, but how on earth do you learn how to do that? Like, where do you start? It just feels like so much. And it is. And it's the steepest learning curve is with that first book. And once you've got that, then obviously there's always challenges, there's always more learning, but this is definitely the point where there's the most to learn.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the first two decisions you've got to make are your writing. What is it you're writing? Where is it in the market? And your publication schedule. What is your writing plan for the next 2 or 3 years? Because I think it's much better for you, like all these things, if you know what you're doing, you're sort of fairly determined that you're sticking to something, everything else becomes a little bit easier. If you keep chopping and changing, that's when life becomes difficult. So what are you writing? What you need to write is I would say, is a defined genre. I mean, if you're not bothered about commercial success, by the way, that's not your definition of success. Not much of this really matters. But if you are focused on commercial success, if you do want to be sitting on a mid-list panel at SPF Live in 2027, for instance, you need to focus your mind on creating a product that will sell multiple times. And you and me both, I think, understand that that means a genre that's easily defined. If somebody said to you, what is your book? And you say, it's a psychological thriller, that's a good answer. If somebody says, what is your book? And you say, well, interesting, it's quite hard to pin it down to a particular genre, that's a bad answer.
Yeah, if you find yourself inventing a new genre, like, well, it's a psych thriller, but it's also a cowboy romance. No, it's not. And I think, for some people, they might say, well, the money doesn't matter to me. Because I think as creatives, especially when you're starting out, sometimes you feel a bit icky saying that you want that commercial success. So you'll say things like, well, the money doesn't matter to me. I just want people to read my work. They're both the same thing, because in order for people to read your work, you've got to reach those people and you've got to convince them to buy the book. And the only way that you're going to do that is by writing something that is actually easily definable, because then you can market it. So the absolute first thing to do is to figure out what you're writing. And I think people then feel like they're not able to necessarily write what they want to write. But I would say, okay, but then you need to take your idea and just look at how you can tweak it or package it to make sure that it does fit that thing. It doesn't mean that you're being forced to write something that you don't want to write. That's not the case at all. But it doesn't possibly mean going, okay, so maybe I can write a psych thriller where the main character is a cowboy, but we can't have the cowboy romance element. We're going to have to put that into another book.
And you need to read into your genre. So if it is psychological thrillers, you should be reading Freida McFadden now. And what you'll notice when you read a good psych thriller author is they're nearly always first person, for instance. I mean, I'm not a psych thriller writer, so I can't go through all the tropes, but there will be tropes in there. There'll be things that happen. If you read 3 of her books and 2 or 3 of other psych thriller authors, you'll notice the same thing happening at various points. And that's a reader expectation thing. Readers may not be able to write it down and tell you this is what's going to happen in the book, but it is part of their experience of why they buy the book. And if you subvert that, that's when you can get negative reviews. You can get bad reader experiences from it. So obviously that's one example. If you're writing thrillers, sort of Jacques Reacher type thrillers, military thrillers, in my case, again, you've got to find the authors who are doing well. So I need to read Tom Clancy and Dean Koontz and people like that who are writing mill thrillers, James Rossone, for instance. Romance is even more nitty than all those other genres put together. I think it's the one where, because it's so subdivided into those subgenres, I think the audience expectation for those genres, those micro genres, is pretty formatted, right?
Yeah, and I think because they're also a very vocal community, like the romance readers they're amazing because they're so vocal, they're so supportive, they rave about the books that they love, but that does mean that they're quite specific. If they want to read a Grumpy Sunshine, Enemies to Lovers, Forced Proximity, Only One Bed book, then that's what they want. And if that's what you've promised them, then that's what you've got to deliver to them. But I think most of us, when we start writing, we will have a genre that is our preferred genre to read. So a lot of the time, the thing that you're going to write is probably going to be aligned with what you read.
It's a Venn diagram, right?
Yeah, and I think the amount of books that you have to read varies for each person. I'm at the point now where if I'm looking at a new genre, trope, subgenre, I probably need to read 3 books that are of that to get the idea. But some people, I've spoken to some authors who say they read 10. Like they will read 10 books from the top charts of the genre that they're going for. And that's their magic number of books that they need to read. So they feel like they really, truly understand it. But it's a really important part of the process. And people really worry. Another thing that new authors often worry about is, but what if I then accidentally copy one of the books that I've read? I was like, you won't. You really, really, really won't. Unless you do that purposefully, you're not copying. You're using it to fill your creative well and to understand what tone readers actually are looking for, because all these books will have a kind of similar tone, but then you find your voice within that. So don't worry that by reading things while you're writing, you're suddenly going to start churning out stuff that's identical to someone else.
I mean, everything's derivative, ultimately. There's very, very little that's new under the sun.
Yep.
And what you're doing actually is not copying somebody, but you're matching an audience expectation. Something we'll talk about later in marketing is where you really need to be matchmaking between a reader and a type of book they like to read, rather than selling one per se. So you're doing that right from the beginning. So, okay, assuming that you've got a genre, you've nailed that, but you're probably most of the way through the book at this stage. Maybe you've published a couple already, but you're a bit behind on the platform building. Then you move on to, I think, the publication schedule. Starting afresh. I mean, I finished my book. It took me so long, I couldn't wait to publish it, so I published it. But I do know authors. I remember talking to Maria Lewis, who I can't remember, doesn't write as Maria Lewis, but I think she writes actually Ice Hockey Romance. I think it was her first series. She's a very successful author down in New Orleans or somewhere like that. I say somewhere like that. She was definitely in NOLA. She may have moved. Anyway, then bogged down with the detail. But I remember she did the Launchpad course, and she said, okay, so I need to write these in advance and rapid release them. And that worked really well for her. So she didn't release until she had all 3 books ready to go. And she ran campaigns before she'd even released her first book, something we're going to move on to in a moment. Is that something you've done, or are you, like me, publish book 1 in the series and then write book?
It's not something that I've done because I'm a very impatient person. But it is actually, funnily enough, something that I'm going to do going forward, because I'm also quite motivated by the commercial success of my books. Something that I've really noticed is that if that first book doesn't hit, I lose complete motivation for writing the rest of the series. And I find it really hard to push myself through. But the thing is, in my genre, a lot of people won't even contemplate reading the series until it's complete. So it's a bit of a catch-22 in terms of how my brain functions. So for the next year, my plan is to actually release 2 trilogies within the next year, and both of those will be written in advance, and I'll rapid release all 3 books at once, which was mainly inspired actually by how well it worked releasing all of my translations at once, because instantly you've got them all there and you can instantly start seeing return on your investment in terms of your marketing investment. But I don't know if I would do that with my first book or not, because I think there's something about, you learn a lot with that first book. Like, no matter if you think you've cracked every single thing, there will be things that you may have misjudged, that you didn't quite get right. There might be feedback in your reviews and things that you want to take on board with the next one. So I don't know if I would do it with my first one or not.
No. Okay. Well, I think if you can be organized enough, it is probably the better marketing strategy, but it is quite a big ask to write 3 books and hold them back. We spoke to someone the other day, actually, who's doing exactly that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And
in the retreat.
And the benefit is you can kind of then separate your brain as well. It gives you a bit more breathing space to start thinking about the marketing, so that you're not trying to write your first book and then starting to write the second one while you're still trying to push that first one. So if you can, then it's great, and it means that you're going to get a return on your investment sooner, because you've already got 3 books out there to direct people to.
Yeah. And one good thing to do, even if you're only doing 1 book, is to think about a novella, is to think about a short story or something that you are going to use as a lead magnet, by which we mean something you'd give away to people to sample your writing, sample your stories, the universe you're creating in your books, and then have their email address in return for that. And then you've got a potential audience member there and a potential purchaser for your books when the time comes. So if you're going to spend, if you're only going to do 1 book, then you've got 2 more books planned, but you want to release that first book, you do have some extra energy. That novella, it could be a backstory, is a very classic one to do as a sort of prequel running up to the story that's in book 1, but it could also be a side story, or not necessarily even related, as long as it's strongly adjacent to the genre you're doing. I wish I'd done that earlier. I did write a novella eventually, but it's something I would have benefited from. So that's your publication schedule, your genre choice. And the third thing I think you need to decide before you go too far forward is whether you're going to be wide or exclusive.
We had this conversation yesterday as well, didn't we? Quite a few people were asking, what do you do? Because I think a lot of people feel uncomfortable with having all their eggs in Amazon's basket. And I'm definitely one of those people. I think I've talked about it before. I've been threatened with my account being terminated in the past, and Amazon owed me quite a lot of money at the time. And it was very, very stressful. But 86% of my income is from KU. So I would be quite foolish to cut that off. I don't necessarily think anymore that you have to be one or the other. I know authors now who have like their main flagship series that's in KU, and then they'll have another one that's wide, and they mix and match the two. In romance, it's just, and I think probably psych thrillers and crime are the same, it's just very, very heavily dominated by KU. I don't have any experience with building up a wide platform, so I can't really speak to how to do that. I just know from people I've spoken to that they will say it's a very different mindset, and it can be a much slower kind of thing because, again, anecdotally, Amazon pushes stuff that's in KU more than stuff that isn't. And even if you're wide, Amazon will still probably be your primary retailer where you're making most of your sales.
Yeah. I mean, I am a fan of KU. I like its simplicity. It's always been more than half of my income, not quite as high a percentage as you, but not so much in Germany, but certainly in the UK. Do they have KU in Germany? I think they do, don't they? I know
they
some
do,
of these
yeah.
countries, it's quite hard to tell from when you're looking at it from the outside. Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting you say you think it doesn't matter so much anymore, but surely there are subgenres in romance that are really the audiences in KU, the kind of whale readers who'll read the book the moment you've released it. They're KU members, right? You're going to miss them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the thing that is working against us now is that a lot of big publishers can now do deals with Amazon where they can be wide and in KU. So that has kind of made it more difficult, because it used to be the case that quite a lot of the big name authors wouldn't be in KU. So you could kind of go, okay, well, people aren't expecting every romance novel to be in there. But now pretty much everything is. So, I mean, the advice that we gave out yesterday was, if you feel you want to be in KU, your fallback strategy or your fail-safe is to be building your own list of your readers and to make sure that you have a way of contacting your readership if, it all fell apart and you lost access to your Amazon readership. And that kind of goes for both scenarios. Like, you should always be doing that anyway. But my tact is, I'm in KU, but at the same time, I'm building up a loyal readership who hopefully I would be able to contact in other ways if that disappeared. But it would make zero sense for me to come out of Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah. Is that true that big publishers get to be in KU and elsewhere? I mean, I know it's said, but I'm not. You have to send me some examples so I can see that, because I've chased some down that people have said, and I've never actually seen evidence of it. I get to Kobo and I can't see their ebook there.
Really? Okay. We'll find some examples.
Yeah. Okay. I'm being bugged by Catherine Matthews, my beautiful assistant.
Does she not know that you're busy?
She does, but she says she needs one of these codes that's been sent to my phone.
Okay.
Let me multitask while you move on to the next thing.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's a satisfactory answer or not, because I think my one thing is, if you're doing standalones, I think that's the thing that possibly makes the difference. If you're writing standalone novels, then sometimes that can be more successful being wide than being in Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
Because the thing with Kindle Unlimited is you're wanting that read through. With standalones, people are more willing to take a chance on spending $4.99 or $5.99 if it's just one book that they're buying, and they're not going to go, oh God, this is a 9-book series, and if I'm spending £5 on each book, then that's going to be a heck of a lot of money. But there are groups. There's a, what is it called? Wide for the Win Facebook group is quite a good one to go into if you want advice on that.
Yeah, I mean, they can be quite aggressively.
They're quite
wide, and that's about Amazon. It's not always the most friendly of environments, but yeah, I mean, hopefully it'll be of use. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of very happy with the Amazon arrangement, but then I've not had my account threatened, and I've been helping a friend actually this week who had his account withdrawn. We got it resolved, but it can happen. I mean, that can happen to any of your platforms, by the way, Kobo and Apple and Google Play or whatever. You just have to be aware of that in this digital world. There's algorithms and robots making decisions all the time, and you can fall foul of that. And your best bet is your best hope is that you can get through to a human at some point to review the decision, or don't do something that's going to fall foul of terms and conditions is the other thing.
Yeah, and I think the thing to make clear as well is that you can do whatever you like with your paperbacks. So if you're exclusive to Amazon with your ebooks, then you're in Kindle Unlimited. You can't put your ebooks anywhere else, but you can do what you like with your paperbacks. So, my paperbacks are on TikTok Shop. You can sell them direct. You can work on building up that as a wide platform, or you can work on building up your audiobooks as a wide platform. So it's not just the ebooks that you've got to think about. You have got that other format that you can do what you like with.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully that's kind of the main decision phase over. So you've worked out what it is you're writing, and that will include, by the way, working out what the hook is, what the emotional sell of your book is, because that's going to inform your marketing later on. But that's all your decision making early on, and you write to that. I mean, a good thing to do is to create a Facebook advert, a mock Facebook advert, or a mock cover of your book, or a mock, blurb. Doesn't have to be the final thing, but it's something to keep you focused while you're writing the book. So this is what you're writing, so you deliver what you're promising. And then you need to build a platform, which in some cases almost physical, digitally physical. It's things like a website and a mailing list. So we'll deal with them in turn. A website, I think, over the years, it's gone a bit up and down as to whether you need a website as an author. What you definitely need, I think, is landing pages. But you can use things like BookFunnel to create landing pages if you want to give away a book. You don't necessarily need to have a Wix or whatever site. However, I think it's quite hard to envisage being a functioning author in the digital space without a website. So I'm still going to recommend it's something you do.
Yeah. And I think we're heading towards needing to take into account how AI search engines are going to work. And part of, there will come a point where people just type into some kind of AI recommendation engine. Can you recommend me a book about blah, 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 blah? And it will be, searching the internet to give you that information, not just Amazon. So the consensus at the moment is that we do kind of need to go back to having a website, making sure that our website is populated with the keywords that we want coming up for our books and that kind of thing.
Yes. So it's called GEO, which is Generative Engine Optimization, which is the new SEO. And someone sent me an article on that this week, so I've started reading it, but it's something else we need to master and be aware of. But you're exactly right. As you say, a direct selling platform as well. And I think just being able to create your own landing pages is very useful. And it's got a lot easier. I think when Squarespace launched a few years ago, if you know what Squarespace is, it's website builder, drag and drop. I found it a bit complicated, but it was a step change from everything else that had gone before, where you basically had to code your site. So it became easier. And then Wix, I think, have perfected that. They're sort of the go-to ones now. And I've got a host of Wix websites that I look after at the various businesses, and I'm very happy with them as a service. So you need to build a website, and you need to build a mailing list. In fact, a mailing list is something that you can do alongside writing the book. You don't have to have published a book to start your mailing list building. I started my mailing list building a good year, maybe more than a year out from publication. And I had hundreds of names on my mailing list by the time I came to launch my book.
Yeah. And this kind of goes along with the building your platform question, and people saying, but how do I do that? How do I start doing that if I haven't written the book yet, or if I don't have that reader magnet? And you can, like you said, you can use paid ads on Facebook to say to people, this book is coming, sign up here if you want to be told when it's coming. But you can also, this is where you can use your social media. You can use Instagram, you can use TikTok, which are free platforms to use. And you can build up a readership of people who are really enthusiastic about your journey before you've even written the book or finished the book. Or you can even, if you don't want to be on there personally, you can build up people who are excited just about the story. Like with my Cara Clare pen name was completely new when I started it, and I generated 1,000 pre-orders before I'd finished writing the book because I was putting out hooks. I knew what the main kind of emotional, gripping, sexy hooks were for the book, and I was already putting those out on TikTok and having people sign up to my mailing list just because they wanted to know when the book was going to come out and pre-ordering. So you can start all of that stuff. Like as soon as you start writing, you're going to have some bits of dialogue that are really cool. You're going to have some, some scenes that you could summarize that scene because you know what happens in it. You don't need to have the actual fully written, fully edited scene in order to start teasing people on social media about how awesome it is. And I think the part where you're writing it, when you're in that initial part, is when you're the most excited about it. So that's when you do need to be getting onto socials, because people are going to feel that excitement. And then that's where they're going to come with you on the journey.
Yeah. And it's not zero entry fee, this. I mean, you can do everything for free, but I think a much better way of looking at it. I mean, there are no other industries that you could earn money from in the long run that are zero to start. And this is not really one of them. So you will need to spend some money, for instance, on editing. You might need to spend on book covers, although it's becoming a bit easier to do that yourself now. But one area I spent on, and I think I gave myself £100 a month for a year. So that's £1,200 or dollars, probably dollars, about £100 a month, which is quite a lot. I appreciate that's a lot of money to suddenly spend, but I allocated that to building a mailing list using Facebook ads before my book was published. And I knew I wouldn't make that money back on day one, but I did know that this was part of the platform building that would get me reviews on day one, and it would get me a bit of algorithm kick on day one, and that would be there for every book I release over the rest of my life, those people who stay on that mailing list. So I did that, and I ran ads with the hook from my book and the military aviation thriller sell of it. And I, in those days, to old men who went to air museums, men.
Was that a
50
category,
plus.
Old men?
Yeah, it was. Well, there is, yes. Funnily enough, male, age 50 plus, who went to military air museums, and that became. It was actually a winning strategy for me. It did really well for me when it came to launch because these were my people. And I think what I did unwittingly was I helped teach Amazon who my readers were very quickly because the right people bought my books to start off with. So yeah, it worked, perhaps thinking about it, probably worked better on book 2 than book 1, because book 1, actually, a lot of people who listened to the podcast for a few years bought it, and that did screw up my also boughts for a bit.
But, yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah. But it's definitely worth doing. I think you don't necessarily have to spend £1,200, $1,200 in a year, but you could do £50 a month or $50 a month for 6 months and just think, okay, this is an investment in my future. You still have to work hard at optimizing, getting as much bang for your buck in terms of Facebook return for that. But that's an investment in your future. It's also quite nice spending money on ads, knowing that you're not looking for a financial return, that they're doing something else for you. It's not so much pressure.
Yeah, and we've kind of mentioned this before. Like if you earmark that money and you're not expecting a return on it, if you're saying this is an investment in my career, then it kind of changes your mindset a little bit. And we've also made the point that there's not really any other career where you would start it midway through your life when you're probably doing a different career, even if you're very young and you're already doing another job and you decide you want to retrain and expect it to cost you nothing. Like it's always, even if you decide I'm gonna start making soap and I want to sell soap on Etsy, you'll have startup costs of making that soap, learning to make it, perfecting the process, like all the ingredients that you need. So this is no different. So you do need to have a serious think about how much you're willing to spend on that initial investment. And the great thing now is that there are so many other places where costs have come down. I spent over £1,000 on my first cover for my first book. And now I spend $150 on a pre-made because I can always find a fantastic pre-made that fits with what I want. They're great. And even a custom cover that I had done recently, that was only $350. So we've talked about Pro Writing Aid, the different ways that you can save money with the manuscript assessment and the manuscript critique, which that would cost an enormous amount of money 5-10 years ago. So I think actually people have more opportunity now to put aside a bit of money to spend on marketing because there are so many other areas where you can save and cut back a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I think as you say, that sort of the new technology that's emerged in the last couple of years is saving us money in other areas. So, yeah, focus on that. The other thing is social media. So social media, back in my day was Twitter and Facebook and a Facebook group. I didn't actually in the end start a Facebook reader group. I didn't feel like I wanted to do that. And it was just another thing I had to sort of maintain. But since then, TikTok's come along and TikTok has been the clear winner on the social media platforms. And I think that's something, or probably whatever genre you're writing in, you do need to think about now.
Yeah, I really think that people do. And you can cross post from TikTok to Instagram and YouTube Shorts and all the other places. And people are sort of going, oh, what if TikTok disappears? It's a bit like the Kindle Unlimited question. It's like right now, TikTok is here. And right now, TikTok is helping people to sell books. So we need to be using it at the moment to reach as many people as we can while we're building up our readership and we're capturing people's email addresses and we're building that audience who are going to move with us to other platforms. But especially if you have no money, if you genuinely are going, James, I haven't got $100 a month to spend. I haven't even got $50. I've got nothing to spend. Then TikTok is your thing, because all you need for TikTok is time, and you don't even need that much time. Somebody asked me yesterday actually what software I used for recording my TikTok videos. And I said, well, I just record them within the app. It takes me about 5 seconds to record a video. And I post 3 times a day, and collectively that probably takes me, I don't know, 10 minutes to do those 3 videos. And again, there's a bit of a learning curve, but absolutely 100%. You need to be on socials, especially TikTok, if you're just starting out. And you don't have to put your face on there. You can. A lot of new authors have had really amazing success by, really being very open about their journey and the fact that they're starting to write. And I think the key thing to mention, though, is that they all talk about the story a lot. So they don't just talk about the fact they're an author, because if you do that on TikTok, you attract other authors. So that the debut authors who I've seen being quite open about their lives, a lot of it is still very focused on the story, and they will share things like, these are my mood boards. This is the map that I drew. Oh God, this line of dialogue is amazing. Wait till you hear this. Like, you won't believe what the FMC does in this scene. So they're being personal about it. They're making you part of the journey, but it's still very story focused. And that's something really important to bear in mind with TikTok, because it's great to build up a community of other authors who are, supporting you while you write your book. But essentially, that's not what you want. You're looking for a community of readers.
Yeah. And on that subject, we're talking about creating your email sequences for your mailing list. What you're going to send out 2 or 3 emails in a row when somebody has responded to a Facebook advert. What do you put in there? And I think everything you've just said is apposite for that as well, appropriate for that, whatever the word is. So give a bit of yourself away. I mean, I think, obviously some people are more private, they want to be guarded, but I think giving some of yourself away, show some vulnerability, or, don't beg, but certainly show some of the process behind the scenes. I think that helps. It makes you more human, and ultimately, people do like buying from authors as much as they like buying the books. They're sort of invested in the author. I mean, Freida McFadden, I've read quite a lot about her in recent days, and I'm quite impressed with her as a human. And that makes me want to buy her next books and support her. She doesn't really need supporting anymore. She probably raised her house on the cash that's been funneled in. But yes, so that personal bit and keeping it focused on the story. But the personal aspect of you in the story, I think, is probably the sweet spot of that. Which
yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen Adam Beswick at the moment is promoting his new release, which is called Wingweaver, and it's a Dragon Rider Academy book. But there's a really personal link between. I won't talk about it on air, but you can go to his socials and see it. He's got a really personal link between something that happens to the dragon and something that happened in his past, and he's being really open about that, and that it links so strongly with the story, but it's such a personal thing. And if you think about his first TikToks and things that started to go really, really viral, that was when he shared his story about how he was a nurse and he was trying to write his first book and that kind of thing. Like, those are the little things that make people invest in your journey and kind of really want to support you. And then if you have things happen, like when I had that incident with Amazon, loads of my readers were emailing Amazon on my behalf saying, this is awful. This is because they supported me, because I was really open with them. I sent out an email saying, guys, this has happened. It would really help me if you could get behind me. And they did. So it's another form of investment, basically. You're still investing in your career because you're investing in making those relationships.
Okay. So I think we've got through the main points we wanted to talk about in terms of that first year. I want to wrap it up by talking about mindsets, a couple of things you looked up before the show. And I think number 10 in the list of notes you sent me is a good one, but I'll let you do it.
Yeah, I was just looking at that one. And it kind of ties in a little bit to what I was saying about, the book doesn't need to be finished. It doesn't need to be perfect for you to start building up hype about it, because you still know the kind of absolute, core of your story. You're still going to know the things that are really exciting about your story. So you can still start sharing those things before you, and spoiler alert, your book's never going to be perfect anyway, but you definitely don't have to wait until it's finished and it's been through all those edits and you're 100% sure of it before you start getting excited. And that's part of the, imposter syndrome, the feeling very self-conscious. Like, I really remember that as part of my first ever book, even saying to people, I'm writing a book. You feel a little bit like, you feel a bit silly admitting to people that you've got this big imagination and you're starting to write a book and you intend to be an author. It can feel a little bit daunting, a little bit silly. You feel like, who am I to be saying that? But as soon as you start doing it, it kind of becomes self-perpetuating and you get more and more confident to do it.
Yeah, indeed. Well, perfect is the enemy of good, is the old expression, and it's absolutely true in our case. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. So if you're in this position, I'll just mention again that we have spent a year building a course a few years ago, and we updated all the time, called Launchpad, and it is exactly this. It's that sort of hand-holding as a big tech library bit that shows you how to build the websites and so on. So you can check that out. We'll be open next month. I think if you go to learnselfpublishing.com/launchpad, you can sign up for a notification when that's open next month. But there's lots of stuff out there, and that's what we're doing here as well, for free as well, if you want to keep your costs down as low as possible and focus your money where it's going to do the most impact for your future career. But hopefully that's a little introduction to that first year, which can be daunting and a little overwhelming.
We had people again last night asking us, where do I go for all this advice? And actually the Launchpad course literally takes you through all of this.
Thank you very much indeed to Cara. Thank you for listening for this week. We will be back next week. If you're going for tickets for SBS Live 2026, it's Wednesday. You do need to be on the wait list to stand a chance, I think, if you go to learnselfpublishing.com/SBS Live. Good luck with that. Hopefully we will see you there next year, but we'll definitely see you next Friday.
Support the podcast and get exclusive access by joining our Patreon. From just $1 an episode, you'll be invited to our Discord server, where the weekly discussion continues every day. And our 2 top tiers include a monthly live Q&A with James and Cara. Head to indiewritersclub.com/support. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. We'll see you next Friday.
The Indie Writers Club podcast is sponsored by Pro Writing Aid. Built by writers for writers, Pro Writing Aid doesn't just check spelling and grammar. It helps you enhance your story's pacing, plot, characters, settings, and more. Now it can even provide on-demand developmental feedback on your entire manuscript with its manuscript analysis and virtual beta reader tools. Give your writing a competitive advantage by heading to prowritingaid.com. You can also sign up for free or use the code IWC15 for a 15% discount off annual subscriptions.